For many of us, climate change is abstract, hard to see in everyday life. Our most common translators of what climate change means are not scientific reports or NGOs, but the news media.
Climate change.
Climate change.
Climate change.
Is climate change real?
Despite the facade of objectivity, the past 30 years have seen an increasing political fragmentation of the news, with virtually all networks assigned an either right or left-wing bias by the public.
That CNN has been extraordinarily biased.
And Fox News, on the other hand, is a Republican propaganda network.
There's an ever-widening partisan gap in which completely divergent narratives are attached to climate change and circulated to conservative or progressive audiences.
The whole climate crisis, as they call it, is not only fake news, it's fake science.
The Earth is getting hotter, and human activity is a major cause, period.
Adding to this politicization, climate coverage spikes when there's a climate-related political event to drive the news cycle.
In hours, President Trump is expected to make waves.
The president saying in a tweet, quote, "I will be announcing my decision on Paris Accord Thursday."
The president is going to announce whether or not he's pulling out of the landmark Paris Climate Agreement.
We anticipate that President Trump is going to announce that he's withdrawing.
I think this will be a big mistake if he withdraws.
The United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord.
A new day, President Trump defying world leaders.
Democrats, they are in full meltdown mode.
This is a shameful day.
This will be the day that the United States resigned as the leader of the free world.
The removal of the United States from the Paris Climate Accord was an opportunity to discuss a disregard of human-induced climate trends that will affect billions, and a non-commitment to the promise of renewable energy. Instead, one of the most covered climate news events quickly turned into sharply divided political discussions, whether it be on the left, where coverage by CNN and MSNBC highlighted the harm the U.S. is doing by removing itself from the agreement.
It changed the nature of America's relationship with the rest of the world.
That the U.S. is basically giving up leadership on climate change.
The definitive issue facing the planet.
But also, a distracting determination to paint President Trump as a climate denier based on his murky climate change beliefs in the past.
Does the president believe climate change is a hoax?
Why can't we get an answer whether he believes in climate change or not?
Around the climate question.
Or on the right, where Fox News coverage supported the withdrawal, citing the Paris Accord as an American job killer.
Dropping out of the Paris Climate Accord to help out our workers and our economy.
I care more about jobs than this climate thing.
You don't need an accord to do that, especially when it transfers wealth to other countries and blames us for the world's problems. So,
Fox News also emphasized the accord as a deal that unfairly benefits China and India.
It advantages China and India.
And they get to knock America down the sides.
You know
when
what?
have we followed what China
Keep
wanted?
in mind the Chinese economy is predicted to overtake our economy in less than a year from right now.
And you get to punish America for being so successful by doing these stupid deals.
And finally, a right-wing belief that framed the climate accord as unnecessary because climate change is an exaggeration, unaffected by the fossil fuel industry.
Do you really think you can predict how much the climate or the temperature is going to change? That's preposterous.
hydraulic fracturing and horizontal drilling that has allowed a conversion to natural gas and the generation of electricity.
We're actually living on an abundance of natural gas right now.
Which is clean.
Which is clean.
And by the way, the polar bears are doing great.
News coverage of the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accord obscured climate change into a political blame game.
$18 billion a year.
While this may have strengthened viewers' partisan and environmental outlooks, watching this coverage does little for inspiring solutions, but rather inspires Americans to point fingers at their political counterparts for being the source of this increasingly politicized problem. And yet, these dynamics are not unique to the Paris Climate Accord withdrawal.
I'm not worried about something that may happen 100 years from now, and a lot more worried about the Chinese.
I don't believe climate change is real. I think this is global warming hysteria.
We're not going to appeal to the far right.
We will lose jobs.
We're not going to appeal to the deniers watching like.
They want to change our behavior, tell us how to live our lives.
They do not want to hear anything that gets in the way of their piggish attitudes.
While this political focus makes sense for the format of the fast-paced news cycle, it allows the actual science or solutions to climate change to be obscured by divisive narratives in the politicized news media landscape. There must be ways to talk about climate change more productively. Some way that talks about the solutions and universal urgency of the problem. After all, the news is a translator of climate change for many, and has just as much power to bring people together over climate change as it does to politically divide issues facing our environment.
Do you believe he's answer to the problems of the world today?
The time to plead ignorance is surely past.
We are putting our great coal miners back to work.